Hello
Hello
there.
there.
Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars and Galaxy, watching all the Star Wars we can get our hands on. I'm Eli.
I'm Jacob.
And today we got a very exciting episode, very action-packed episode of Star Wars in the Galaxy. This is episode 143 of Star Wars in the Galaxy. And we got an action-packed episode for y'all today, quite literally, because this episode is all about that action.
Oh, yes, it absolutely is. Multiple amazing boss fights, wrapping up some of the major character arcs and storylines of this game, of this amazing story. We start off with Cal entering the Bedlam Raider base on the Shattered Moon, looking for Santari Kree's campus. We find out that Rayvis is here too, as Cal works his way through the base with Rayvis talking shit to him over a loudspeaker, giving me major Reva flashbacks to the first game when she does the same thing. Cal eventually makes his way to the control room of the station and confronts Rayvis. They fight, they duel. Cal eventually defeats Rayvis. After that, he heads back to the Mantis, reuniting with Grease and the rest of the crew, and they head back to Kobo. Cal investigates a shuttle crash, an Imperial shuttle crash, and eventually fights his way through an Imperial base to make his way up to the Kobo Sky base. I can't remember what it's called exactly.
Observatory.
Yeah, he makes his way to the observatory with Bode before finally reaching and confronting Dagan Gera. They fight. It's epic. It's amazing. And in the end, Dagan Gera is defeated. So pretty simple stuff this week, but very exciting. A lot of showdowns to get to. Eli, where do you want to start us off for this one?
Yeah, first of all, just a bit of an editorial on this episode is that we are recording this before we're recording 142 with Divorce. I'm sure we're going to enjoy that. We're recording that in a few days, but so if you don't hear us reference stuff from 142, that's indeed why. Is because we have not recorded it yet. But we have watched this stuff. We have watched the stuff for our 6th part and here for our 7th part as well. But yeah, no, we start back on the Shattered Moon, where it's very clear, it becomes very clear from the beginning, all roads are leading to Rayvis. Like, whatever's going to happen, it's going to be Cal and Rayvis, and one of these guys is not going to be leaving here alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love the finality, both with Dagan and with Rayvis, of these shutdowns. Look, Cal didn't want this to happen, but this is the way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just like... It's unavoidable at this point.
It's come to a head. It's very exciting.
Yeah. And Cal has to make his way through the base. I'm trying to think if this is next episode or if this is this episode. Give me a second.
I think
okay, yeah. No, we're good. Never mind. Yeah. So yeah, but Cal has to make it through the base. Rayvis, as you mentioned, is evil monologuing, which is so funny. It just has such comic book energy. And I love it so much. Like, very much, because the thing when Rayvis is doing that evil monologuing, Cal's like doing some epic parkour. It's not like he's in a particular position to really listen to or digest what Rayvis is saying.
Yeah, he's like making his way through these crazy firing chambers. Like, the timing is so tight where you have to run through the tunnel before the beam blasts you, and then
what I probably mentioned
like is high level parkour.
Yeah, and what I probably mentioned last episode, by the time this comes out, is that it's very similar to a sequence at the end of The Force Unleashed 1, where you have to do that, but instead of just being a firing chamber for a sort of super weapon on the Shattered Moon, you're actually running through the actual super laser for the Death Star.
Yes.
But no, this one's even more intense, especially because you have to get the timing right with the Marin Charm thing and dash your way through, glitching your way through, I guess you could call it. It's just a mess. It's just absolutely a mess.
Yeah, but in this game, I think that yes, when you play it, you are much more focused on the action and the parkour, because it's not the easiest here, to be honest. Like, this is where it's okay. You actually have to lock in.
But we had the luxury of being able to.
We had the luxury, and when you really listen to what Rayvis is saying, it's not just some random evil monologue. This is highly helpful to understanding or beginning to have a better understanding of who Rayvis is and why he's doing what he's doing. We don't really know. We get later the stake or the experience he has with the Jedi Order. He makes some great points about, as he calls it, Jedi brutality, of the galaxy remembering the Jedi for the Clone Wars,
Clone Wars, not
for
diplomacy.
not for diplomacy
Which
and all the
is
other
what we're
things that they're known
seeing.
for.
What we're seeing again. We're doing these episodes all recording way in advance, but even now, it's what we're seeing of the Acolyte. That was the Sith's grand plan. It was never about. I was just listening to Alex Damon's thoughts about why May is killing so specifically without a weapon. I hope I'm not spoiling too much.
Yeah.
I'll just say this is what the Sith's grand plan was. To have the Jedi, like, it's not about killing Jedi. It is about killing the Jedi's reputation with the galaxy. It's about getting it to a point where the citizens of the galaxy don't care if the Jedi fall, or maybe even want it, like Rayvis. There's that other line that he says. He goes, "You must want Tanalorr very badly, but how far will you go? You've already killed for it. Maybe you're no different than the Empire after all."
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. I think Palpatine involved the Jedi in the Clone Wars and maneuvered them the way that he did, not just to erode the Jedi's own values, resolve, and morality, but the entire galaxy's perception of the Jedi. And I think the majority of the legwork for that was complete already by the time that the Clone Wars rolled around, because it seems like it had been happening for centuries, ever since the kind of age of the High Republic and the light and life stuff, ever since the Jedi left that behind and started seemingly going into the big decline in the twilight of the Republic era. It seems like that was an ongoing process.
Yeah.
And that's how you get people like Rayvis. But Rayvis, of course, also, as he says, or I guess we can get to this later because it's a more of a reveal, what the Jedi did to him, but him fighting to go to Tanalorr and then having the Jedi kind of spoil that. He didn't take very kindly to that either.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking about like the whole like that line. You must want Tanalorr very badly, but how far will you go? You've already killed for it. Maybe you're no different than the Empire after all. Which is, and Cal mentions this after he kills Rayvis, and is on. It's a shame because he does that as during what I'm going to call the platformingest of platform sequences in this game. The sequence right after you kill Rayvis is beautiful, and I want to do a play-by-play of it later.
Yeah.
But he says to BD, "What's stopping us from becoming as bad as Dagan? What's stopping us exactly?" Now we know the answer, but like he doesn't. He's still trying to figure that out, and it's the catalyst for a conversation that he has with Marin later. But
like, and I think Rayvis,
he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah, but also Rayvis gives us part of the answer, or he spells it out. He says, I can't remember exactly how he phrases it, but when he's talking to Cal, he says, "Without a code, you can only fight for yourself."
Yeah, and that is part of what separates.
That is part of what separates Cal from someone like Dagan, specifically Dagan.
Yeah, it's Dagan really just seems to be making this stuff up as he goes along.
His code becomes screaming Tanalorr. That's his code. It's no longer. Yeah.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? But yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. Yeah, but before we fight Rayvis, we got to do a few more puzzles involving the Kobo matter. And we see the incident where this is probably the final thing that happens before in the flashbacks in chronological order. If we were to put them in chronological order, this is not the last thing. This is the second to last thing, because the very beginning we saw the last thing with Kree sending Z after Dagan. But what was I going to say? But this is absolutely the important part to see, which is Centauri basically saying, "Hey, Dagan, you murdered Jedi.
Yeah,
You killed Jedi for this.
that's
I
that's the
want to
hard.
get to Tanalorr, but I don't want to get to Tanalorr that bad."
Yeah,
And
to clarify as well, I think the bigger picture of why this is happening is Centauri is still saying we're Jedi. Like if we're betraying the Jedi code, fighting, like going against the Council, we lose the very thing that we're trying to do all this for.
yeah, no, I understand.
If it's really about the Jedi, like Dagan Gera wants it to be, then you can't like go against the Jedi to do it. But Centauri understands that. But for Dagan, what I mean is about Tanalorr more so than about
The Jedi.
the like he is so obsessed with Tanalorr that he loses sight of all the reasons that they wanted Tanalorr in the first place.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right about that.
That's the what I think is at the core of his fall.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he becomes so hyper focused.
Yeah.
It's that he loses all sight of any morals that he has.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this scene where, and then of course, after he tells her to move, and then she refuses, and then he ignites his lightsaber, and then tries to go, and then of course we see that she is the one who sliced off his arm.
Yeah.
And the bacta tank was
what a twist.
indeed, yeah, the love of his life cutting off his arm. Oops, I said that. Oh, I'm running this entire thing. I think that's what's first introduced in the episode that Connor and I are doing. It is my personal headcanon that they were in love, and that makes this story like 10 to 15% better.
Get that
And nobody can
vibe
stop.
Sometimes. I won't lie. Like I'm not fully convinced, but I can't tell you that it's not like
Yeah. Like, but and like the acting of the great acting of Cody Fern and Tracy Ifiakor as Dagan and Centauri sell it. But the writing is sold a little bit more if you're thinking about like the exchange, like, come with me. It's too late for that.
Yeah.
If you're thinking of Tanalorr as not just this planet that Dagan wants to go to really bad, but as this pet project of these two people who really loved each other.
Yeah.
And losing Tanalorr is almost like losing a part of that relationship for Dagan.
Yeah. It's what Marin says when Cal's talking about his fears of the fight making him become like Dagan. She says it's difficult to wake up from a shared dream. Like they shared that, and that was the strength of their relationship and their commitment to this dream strengthened their personal relationship, and then vice versa. So I think you're absolutely right that like I don't know if I 100% buy it, but it's not unreasonable to ship it.
Yeah, it just makes a little bit more. It's not like a ship, like an I really want to see them in love or something like that, like I would with a Finn Poe sort of thing.
Yeah,
but it just makes the story for me make more sense if they were, because it explains Dagan's actions other than he really wanted to have this planet for himself.
Yeah,
which is an explanation. It just isn't, in my opinion, a very good one. But yeah, and it makes Centauri fighting for Dagan not to be killed by the Jedi a bit more reasonable, because that wasn't just like an unbreakable friendship for Dagan. No, that was love. That was love speaking.
Even if it was platonic, if you love someone hard enough, you'll want to.
Yeah, and I'm not saying.
I feel like it could have been another. It could have been another type of strong bond.
Yes,
to the point where even if it's not romantic, to the point where you're wondering, is this against the Jedi code? Now, I don't know how different that was, if that was different in the High Republic era, but you're right. They do have a special relationship in this story. There's no denying it.
Yeah. And what was I going to say? And yeah, but I think we should probably get to the main attraction of this episode, I think, or at least the first one. But before we do that, we get introduced to another gameplay feature, which I actually really love. And I wish we had a cutscene for this one, because God knows this one deserves it way more than the fucking dash jump or the Relter tame. No offense to the dash jump or the Relter tame. I'm sorry, minor offense meant to the dash jump and the Relter tame.
Bro, the dash is sick. I don't know.
The dash is cool, But this new balloon jump is very cool. The balloon jump completes like the great new set of platforming abilities that they've given us in this game. It's the ascension cable, it's the dash, it's so many things. But the balloon jump in being able to like basically aim where you want, so damn cool. And bouncing on those things are so fucking fun.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a fun mechanic, and it definitely really. I feel like it really comes into effect once you're at the observatory and you're just thousands of feet in the air above the clouds, and you're just
I'm like,
whoa,
yeah,
using every last like the grapple, the dash, everything to get from balloon to balloon.
and remember a few episodes ago when Cal's like, everybody can fly except me? This is you flying, Cal.
Yeah, Cal. Yeah, more accurately, Cal doesn't need a jetpack to basically fly.
Yeah, like you're using your magic space powers and a couple grappling hooks to fly. Yeah. That's what you're doing, Cal, okay? So cool it with the everyone gets to. You're basically flying. Come on. But yeah, we have what was I gonna say? We have a bit of an exchange before Rayvis and Cal fight. The one line of dialogue I want to cover with this is Cal saying, "And yet nothing has changed. You're still just Dagan's servant."
Yeah.
Think about the years, the decades, the centuries that this man has been waiting for some guy who he didn't even know was alive to come back.
You said 200 years later, right?
And it's been 200 years.
Like 200 years, yeah.
It's
but Rayvis
more,
doesn't seem to mind. He doesn't deny.
No, he doesn't. I mean, no, it's been. Let's see. It's been over 220 years since Dagan was put into backed up. Yeah, but he doesn't care. He does not care. But what has he made for himself in the 200 years? What's he done? Doesn't exactly seem like much. But
I mean, it's like he says, he's a man of commitment and loyalty. That's what he prioritizes.
But at a certain point, you have to ask yourself, are your loyalties being placed correctly? And he never seemed to ask himself that in over 200 years. He never asked himself that. But I gotta say, this fight is something truly unique, and I really like how they did this. In my opinion, the Rayvis boss fight is the most difficult boss fight in either Jedi game.
Really?
More than any Inquisitor, more than Darth fucking Vader himself, Rayvis is the hardest. And it's because he fights so incredibly unconventionally.
What even is that weapon that he has? It's a giant staff with the crazy swinging chain / whip thing coming off the end of it. I don't even know what to call it.
Let's see. Yeah, even Wikipedia doesn't know what it is. Yeah, deadly hybrid between a mace and a flail, which could be swung around one-handed or used to strike at range by using a cord inside the handle to launch the weapon's spike tips in. This is just so cool. That's the thing. I'm also looking here, and it says his skill as a warrior had been reduced during the centuries he had been imprisoned since his capture by the Jedi. Oh, he'd been imprisoned this entire time, but still. Something noticed by both Dagan Gera and Rayvis himself. This is his weak state, and it's the hardest thing we've ever faced in a Jedi game. That's his weak state.
That's pretty that is pretty crazy.
And of course, his increased physical toughness from being a Gendai, which I don't think we talked about this much before, but of course, the Gendai is the species of Dirge from the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars. In fact, he named that species after himself, basically.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love Dirge as a character. Y'all know how much I love Dirge as a character. I love seeing a canon Gendai. I love that they didn't really nerf him that much. Look, was Dirge ridiculously overpowered in Legends? Sure. It was required Anakin to launch an escape pod with him into a freaking sun to kill him. But there is that moment, of course, where Cal launches at him. It's after the first boss bar goes down. That's the other thing. You have to fight him twice.
Yeah,
Yep.
the reveal that he is one of these crazy dirge monsters, and then
Yeah,
you're
and
like, oh
and
shit,
Cal
you have
slashes
to do
him,
this all
and
again.
it does nothing. And he
Yeah,
goes, "Oh, come on!" And that is like such a relatable moment of people just try. It's when Obi-Wan stabbed Dirge during Gendy's Clone Wars, and Dirge just started laughing.
yeah,
That moment is so fucking hilarious. It's so funny. But yeah, the fight is epic. The fight is long and arduous. It took me many times to beat this, and I'm sure, and I was not playing on its particularly difficult difficulty. I can only imagine what this would be like on the master or grandmaster difficulty, something I never want to try myself.
Oh god, yeah.
I like to think I'm good at video games, but not nearly that good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a controller player usually, and I barely play that game. And even on Padawan for me, some of these fights when I was playing with you, I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
It takes real timing, which is something that in a lot of video games is not really the case these days.
Yeah.
So I
And
did appreciate that, even though it was a bit frustrating at times. Like
you
you gotta
also
learn the right way to do it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you also see in the Gamers Little Playground thing, I don't know what difficulty they were playing at, but they were down to 0 stims
Yeah,
and
no, he
like
was
20% of their health.
yeah, Cal was literally one shot, it seemed, by the
1 or
end of the
2, yeah,
Rayvis
pretty
fight.
much. Yeah.
Like
For them,
there was no
who
margin for error.
seemed to figure a lot of this game stuff out way before I did. It was like they were hurting badly. But what did I say? But yeah. Shit.
This fight though,
Um
this is good. This fight is good stuff. I mean,
it is, and the emotional beats at the end of it are interesting as well. Where the Jedi, like when Dagan says the Jedi messed up, they didn't grant me a warrior's death.
yeah.
And his insistent on, look, if you're going to, if I'm going to be defeated, I want to be defeated the right way.
He might have a lot of his priorities pretty messed up, and he might have thrown in with some less than pleasant people, but he is nothing. Rayvis is nothing if not a man of principle. Like I will say that about him.
I understand where you're coming from with the idea that he's a man of principle. I still think a lot of those principles, like logically, are flawed. However, like
Yeah.
the thing that
Maybe principle is the wrong word, but conviction.
Yeah, he's a man of
Like
conviction.
he's a man of conviction.
Absolutely.
He's a man of commitment. He harbors no. I think the thing about him saying servant, the thing about him being called a servant, that really reminds me of, I can't remember which episode it is, but when Kenobi faces Grievous at some point in the Clone Wars, the show,
An
and
army
says,
with
you know,
no
yeah,
an army
your
with no
Dooku. He basically says you're Dooku's errand boy, and Grievous says,
Grievous
no, I'm the
intrigue.
most power. I'm the leader of the most powerful droid army the galaxy has ever seen. He is completely denying that. On the other hand, though, in contrast to that, Rayvis is, yes, I am loyal to Dagan because I fought with him, I respect him, and I believe in, if not his cause, I believe in working.
Yeah,
I believe in
but
working
it seems
with
he doesn't
him.
believe in his cause. That's the thing that's so infuriating about Rayvis towards the end of this. Honestly, for me,
Yeah.
is that right before he dies, he says, "After all this time, I still dream of Tanalorr." My dude, Cal is also wants to go to Tanalorr. I'm not saying side with him. I'm saying if I were Rayvis, I'd hedge my bets. I would say, look, I don't know who's going to come out of this fight between Kestis and Gera, but whichever one, I'm going to say, look, to the person who wins, I'm going to come with you to Tanalorr. If I really care about that much, if I really care about that stuff and leading the Bedlam Raiders,
Yeah, no, I get what you're I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
it's after all this, I still dream of Tanalorr. Dude, whose fault do you think that is exactly? The guy who just wants to get to Tanalorr, or the one who said, you can't just defeat me, you have to give me a warrior's death and kill me? It contains a little bit of the Eric Andre meme of the shooting and then who did this? You did this. But actually, that's another thing that I love about this. Although I think it's a dumbass move to do the I need to have a warrior's death thing. I do like how the death feels because, like, the Ninth Sister are already in this game. Cal kills Rayvis, and then what's the emotion after that? It's kind of nothing.
Yeah.
He didn't want to. Nobody wanted this to end this way except for Rayvis.
Yeah,
it's completely hollow.
Yeah, but I think I think that, and that makes sense. This is not the story. This is not the story of Cal and Rayvis. And as much as we see Rayvis going through his own emotional processes, and we see him ending his own story in a way that's somewhat satisfying to him and brings him some closure, that doesn't really have any bearing on Cal because he's got different fish to fry.
I'm not saying that to criticize the story, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm saying that. What was I going to say? What I was saying is I like the thematic message of what that is because Cal, it goes along with it's time for you to become more than a lightsaber. Cal is so good at killing, but killing doesn't actually get anybody anywhere. Yeah, like, sure, like, logically and, like, tactically it might. But look at Ninth Sister, look at Rayvis, two people who had been antagonizing Cal for a long time.
Yeah.
And then he killed them, and then he felt basically nothing, which I think says a lot. All right, Jacob, I want to experiment with this. Are you ready to do a play-by-play of this fucking parkour right after Rayvis' defeat? Because I feel like there's no better way of doing this. Because I need to recap this. I need to see this for myself again.
All right, do what you got to do.
Can you still see it?
I can see it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see it. Let's see what we got here. So this is right after. So Jacob and I are looking at the video, that's why our commentary might be a little weirder than usual, or in a different format. All right. Here we go. Let's see how he does this. Okay. It starts with a grapple to a zip line. And then and then you have to dash and then grapple onto a balloon and then go onto another balloon and then dash to grapple onto running on the wall and then do that again with a grapple onto another wall run and then grapple onto another zip line, both times using a double jump and a dash. You have to do that both times. Cal's talking about these high-minded ideals about maybe Rayvis is right about the whole, like, without a code. Then you have to dash again onto another wall run. Then you have to jump dash, grapple onto another balloon, onto another wall run. Grapple onto another wall run. And then I think zip line on the way down. What the fuck was that? That is the most platforming of platform sequences I've seen in either game. It's incredible.
Yeah, it feels like at this point and forwards during the game, it feels like the apotheosis of what they wanted to do with the jumping, wall running, the platforming, the parkour in this game. It feels like it all comes together, and you feel like it almost feels like it reflects how now that he's defeated Rayvis, it feels a little bit like Cal has reached another level. There's some kind of closure, a new beginning there, and you get out of that. And there's just the contrast between grinding away in that fight and then all of a sudden just the freewheeling, just feeling of just speed, momentum, freedom, and motion that you get from doing this parkour. And you're doing it way up in the air on the shattered moon, surrounded by the sky. It's an amazing contrast that kind of underscores what that kind of must feel like for Cal, which I think is cool. And it definitely feels like this is really what the platforming element of this game is all about. When you put all the pieces together and you're doing these amazing combinations.
Yeah, it's so satisfying when you get it right, though, I will say. There are these things called force tears that are just heightened versions of these that are not actually a part of the game. They're just side quests if you really want to do parkour shit. Let me actually show you. Actually, I'm going to show you friend of the show, guest host this season. Connor has been posted a video a long time ago of him doing a force tear. Here's one. All right, yeah. So this is one. This is the one he did that went semi-viral. One that you can find on Jedi called Fractured Determination. Let's take a look. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a play-by-play here. So we have jump dash through a portal, through with the charm through a laser gate, through another laser gate, jump dash onto the wall run, jump onto another wall, dash through another one onto another wall, more laser gates, swing from poles. Look at this stuff. And then there's one like a climbing one swinging around, and then you have to jump through more laser gates and then climb stuff while the electromagnetic stuff are zooming up the wall. Look at this. How insane is this?
That's pretty nuts.
Honestly, Respawn, if I had one note for Jedi 3, remove the puzzle aspect entirely, make it about combat and platforming, and I would be happy.
I would agree with that. I don't love personally the puzzles are not really. But
I
they're not really
understand that
my
some
jam
people like the
in this
puzzles,
game.
and I certainly don't mean any offense to those people, but it's just what am I gonna say? But yeah, the platforming stuff is really fun when it doesn't infuriate the hell out of you. Yeah, you want to get to Kobo 4?
Back again, back to Kobo. I have to say, I am warming up to Kobo. I feel like it felt a little bit generic the first couple of times we went there in this game, but look, I think what's called the fogged expanse area. We get
This is, I think, the part of the game where we get the most interesting parts of Kobo. I think Kobo 4 is where we get the most interesting parts of Kobo.
Yeah, the crashed shuttle. I like that each time we come back to Kobo, we see a different aspect of the planet. But back on the Mantis as well, right before we get to Kobo, I think Cal's conversation with Marin is important
Absolutely.
to this part of the story because he really confesses the parallels that he sees in himself with what happened to Dagan Gera, where Dagan just got so consumed by the idea of Tantalor, and he's really worried about himself just being completely consumed by, as he just describes it, the fight.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that Cal is worried about this at all already separates him from Dagan. He's driven by
Absolutely.
principles and empathy and family, whereas Dagan Gera is just eventually just driven purely by ambition.
And he had some darker impulses later in the game, and we'll obviously talk about those as we get to them. But yeah, I think Cal's biggest here's the thing. I think in order to talk about this scene, we actually have to talk about Bode.
All right.
Because I feel like Bode is very connected to this part of the storyline, which is that I think Bode wanted Cal to take a bit more of a selfish path. I think that Bode was trying to subtly manipulate Cal this whole time into giving up his dreams of an organized rebellion sort of thing that he wanted, and just have Tantalor for him, Bode, and Kata, basically. And Marin, once he saw how much Marin meant to Cal. But Marin is the great foil to Bode, basically, because Marin knows and Marin cares.
Yeah, definitely.
And Marin, as we've discussed previously, has already gone through her emotional arc. Whatever it was, she's already done it. And so she's a lot more in control of her emotions than Cal is. And so Marin is that anchor for Cal at the end of this game, near the end of this game, as he says to her, and she fulfilled very well. If you ever, as she says to him, if you ever stray from your path, we will guide you back.
Yeah.
I think that Cal easily could have turned to the dark side permanently by the end of this game if she wasn't there. Like, I cannot underestimate. I cannot overstate how important I think her influence is to him in a good way. I really do think she keeps him grounded to a sense. And I think that their love is so special because of that, is that they balance each other out in a lot of.
I think we discussed this last week. They really do balance each other out, like you said, in a lot of ways. But where do we go from here? I think Kobo is great this time around. I think visually, I was floored by once Cal fights his way up through the whole Imperial base, being up on the stone spires, way above the Lucre Hulks, above the clouds. It's one of the best visuals of the game, in my opinion. One of the best locations. Just the sense of scale, of grandeur. It really feels like Star Wars to the max.
It feels very
sense.
fantasy to me.
It just feels out of this world, super fantastical, just over the top, amazing, improbable physical environment to be the backdrop for all of this. And the same goes for the observatory as well. It's pretty remarkable in my opinion.
Yeah. No, but there's a lot of like fantasy. You have to climb all these summits, brave the elements, cover so many different types of terrain. Yeah, it's just so cool. I will say, I think that we could have cut stuff with the crashed Imperial shuttle and the Empire stuff, like the sequence where he goes in and then he gets out and stuff like that. That's another one of these sequences that felt very video gamey to me.
Yeah.
Now I understand the purpose was to give BD that electro dart, but
like you think it's just too it feels too gamified.
It feels, oh, we have to put this in because this is how you get this. When we can just do a little thing, not like a major big, oh, he goes into an Imperial shuttle that's crashed, and then he has to get out and blah, blah, blah.
It does just feel like a side quest. This is a video game, but as far as the story goes, this part is just okay. This is something that would not be in a TV show or a movie.
Yeah, absolutely not.
But this is just the process of getting from A to B. This is Luke hiking around Dagobah before he finds Yoda. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, but we do get the second BD power, which is the Electro Dart Pulse, which is cool. That's all I got to say about that. We get to that TIE Fighter factory on Kobo, which looks damn good.
Oh, yeah.
Cal mind tricks a stormtrooper, which is the second time this game he does that. Every time a Jedi teetering between the light and dark uses a Jedi mind trick, my eyes tend to raise.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where we see the great Jedi use this power.
And I don't question when they do it.
Yeah.
I do, but like when Qui-Gon tries to do it, when Obi-Wan does it, I'm like, yeah, but they're Qui-Gon, they're Obi-Wan. I can allow them to make some mistakes because I know of the great men they are.
Yeah, but it's like
Cal, on the other hand, I'm not saying he's not great. I'm saying that he has the potential. Like the dark side is on the table. It's on the table for everybody, of course. Everybody has to face their own dark side. But for me, it's on the table in a very really realistic way that it isn't for Qui-Gon or Ben by that point.
Yeah, there's a reason that a lot of the Force abilities, the uses of the Force that involve messing with people's heads, there's a reason that those, like you said, are eyebrow raisers. There's no denying it.
And it's only a stormtrooper, but still. Speaking of stormtroopers, they don't really play a big role in this game. We have to talk about the legend. When I got to this guy in Jedi Survivor, I cried. I will admit it. I absolutely cried. Witnessing his power was too great for me. It was a thing where I saw his name come up in the game. And then I just stared for a second because I couldn't believe that they had put him in this game.
A legend.
A legend, a biblical level power I'm talking about. Of course, I'm talking about Rick, the door technician.
cut
I mean,
down
what
in his prime by the Jedi scum.
I
Rest
know,
in
like
peace.
it almost made me hate Cal Kestis, to be completely honest. It almost made me hate him. It almost made me hate him how Rick was cut down in his prime like that. What did Rick ever do?
You know, he maybe had a grandson named Matt the radar technician, perhaps. That's one
Anyway,
possibility
beyond
if you're
joking, I think
familiar.
this is really fucking funny that they put this in here.
Yeah.
I remember, I feel like half of us, when we saw this for the first time, I'm like, oh no, is this going to be like a weird boss stormtrooper? Is this going to be a lot harder? Nope. He's just a regular stormtrooper that they decided to add a boss part to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I know Rick the door technician, he comes in with a lot of confidence. You know,
Yeah,
like
he's Rick. He's Rick, the door technician.
He's fired up, and that's the thing. That's the thing about confidence. Sometimes it's really beneficial, and it really gets you places. And sometimes it's completely unwarranted, and it fucks you up.
Did
And
you
that's the
know?
lesson that we learned with
Did you
Rick
know
the door technician.
that at least the stat sheet about some certain statistics that players of Jedi Survivor had achieved? I believe this was on May 4th last year, and they haven't released an updated one. So this is as of May 4th last year, at which point the game had been around, I think, for a month or so.
Yeah.
At that time, a triple-digit number of players had died in game to Rick, the door technician.
So
not killed him, died to him.
Now I've seen I saw a video on YouTube of someone using the Force, using the different telekinesis abilities to actually save Rick's life and to peacefully move him to the other side of the walkway and continue. But I've never seen anyone dying to Rick the door technician. That's a new one for me. I have to admit.
I think it was like 300 something players had been killed
Damn.
by Rick the door technician, which just speaks to his power, honestly.
Yeah, he is unmatched. The one man Palpatine feared. Rick the door.
Yeah, he hit him in plain sight. But all hail Rick.
All hail Rick.
Our Lord and Savior, Rick the door technician.
R.I.P. to a real one.
R.I.P. to. I also wrote that down. I'm not joking.
Who was it who said that? One of our guests said that first. Well, it's become like a recurring
ironically
theme.
enough, it was our guest last episode, Mr. Devore Mondam. It was with Devore and Meg that became a thing.
That's right. It was maybe one of the episodes we had them both on. I can't quite recall.
The episode I think where we had them both on with the mall stuff on Mandalore.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Meg and Devore have given so much to this show. They really have.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we enjoyed having Devore on. Assumably, we enjoyed having Devore on last episode. We haven't recorded yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
We're talking about the future like it's the past from the past.
It's so confusing. So
we had a great time with Devore. We definitely did that episode already. We definitely didn't switch the order for weird logistical reasons that we won't go into.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, and if we know Star Wars is never ever does anything, like there's one thing is that it never ever plays around with order for logistical reasons. It never does that. It's never in the history of Star Wars done that. They've always released it exactly chronological. They've never jumped around in time. It's nothing. There's never been confusion on that aspect. No, then we get up to the mountains of Kobo and getting up. Yeah, but I love what you said. Yeah, I think actually the stuff at the top of the observatory has like major throne room vibes to me. And you can take that as either Return of the Jedi or Rise of Skywalker. It's a very much like it all ends here thing. One way or another, Dagan Gera is not walking out of that fucking room. I don't know what we're gonna have to do to him, but we're going to do it to make sure that that guy never sees Tanalorr again.
Oh God, yeah. Never get between a man and his Tanalorr.
You think that?
Here. Unless you're Cal, then you can do whatever you want.
Then you can do whatever you want because you have a Night Sister girlfriend on your side, and honestly, that makes you able to do pretty much anything you want.
Yeah, that's something that I love. The moments when the game reminds us, hey, as much of a badass as Cal is, Marin is 10 times more
Yeah.
hardcore and
Marin looks
extreme
at
and
what
hard
Cal
and
does
powerful.
and says cute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then we love, by the way, the whole "it all ends here" thing is exactly what the game wants you to think. After you defeat Dagan, you'll get to Tantalor, and you'll end the game there. It feels like the end of the third act, but we're really just still in the middle of the second, which is crazy. But yeah, before you get to there, you have to fight URGOST, Fist of Rayvis, which is one of the edgiest names I've ever heard in my life, and I love it. It's literally just a Bedlam Smasher with a boss bar, but like URGOST, Fist of Rayvis is like
It's a hard name. I like
it goes hard. It absolutely goes hard.
But it just like being sandwiched right between fighting two people that are actually important to the story and that we actually care about as an audience, it just feels like kind of an afterthought. Like I'm just
Yeah.
thinking, this is completely like it's enjoyable, it's cool, yeah, but completely unnecessary to the story. Like, completely not unnecessary, because half the stuff is unnecessary, but that doesn't mean it doesn't make for a good story. It's gratuitous. It's actually
Yeah.
it's gratuitous to me.
But URGOST Fist of Rayvis is, I don't know, for me, is just campy enough to be like, okay. What was I gonna say? Here we go. All right, yeah. So we get Dagan talking more, and it seems like for a second, it seems like he's moved on, but no,
Yeah.
he hasn't. He says what does he say? Like he says, "The order is gone, and I am free." And then he asks Cal, "How could you let the galaxy fall to this unworthy machine of an empire?" Which is a great question. I just wonder why it wasn't asked 3 hours ago in this. Like, why was it the first fucking thing he asked Cal? How could you let this happen?
Yeah, Rayvis works in not mate Rayvis, sorry. Dagan Gera works in mysterious ways.
It very much feels like, look, if Dagan had never mentioned the whole Empire thing, or mentioned it only once or something like that, I think that would have been better than here. Because it feels like the writers forgot, oh yeah, shoot, he actually exists in this era. Shit, we have to make mention of that now.
Yeah.
It doesn't come to anything. He really just still obsessed with Tantalor, which is, if that's the way if you want to go, then that's the way you want to go. I still may not agree with how it's executed fully, but sure, it's the way you want to go. But don't half-ass trying to put, hey, dude, this empire is also really bad.
I don't think the interesting thing is we don't really know how he actually feels about the empire, its policies, what it's doing. What he's just saying, the empire is unworthy, which is
Yeah.
not the same thing as saying that it's evil or reprehensible or that it must be. But
He does mention about
I
leading
think
an
that,
army of the Bedlam Raiders and Fourth Users against them, so he is against them.
he is against the empire, yeah. But with that being said, I think that it makes sense for him to say what he does about the empire and specifically the Jedi falling to the empire, because it mirrors Rayvis's disgust with the state of the Jedi, of the modern Jedi, that being the Jedi during the Dark Times and since the Phantom Menace, and maybe before that, during those later years. He was making reference to this great fall off that the Jedi have had since. He said, like, you are not the glorious warriors or something like that. I can't remember what he said, but he said, like, you're not the great Jedi that you once were during the High Republic.
Yeah.
And I think that Dagan Gera, by expressing his own disgust and disappointment in the new Jedi, does mirror that.
Yeah. There is just like there is just like an annoyance I have with Dagan sometimes, where like when he said, "Why are you here when your true enemy is out there?" I'm like, Dagan, have you seen Jedi Fallen Order, or frankly the other half of this game? That's exactly what Cal is and wants to be doing. But a crazed 200-year-old has-been Jedi maniac who says the word Tantalor almost as often as he breathes is making that pretty difficult for him right now. This dude has no self-awareness, and it's honestly fascinating to watch.
Yeah. You're right about that. You're right about that. But I will say I think that oh gosh, I just lost my train of thought. I think that Dagan, he has a flair for the dramatic. None of this is out of character, but you are right that he has lost touch. That's why he is doing what he's doing. He doesn't really care about being a Jedi anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no. Let's talk about the fucking dramatic energy of this fight. What a fucking crazy fight.
Dude,
There's
this is
there's no other way to say it. This fight is fucking off the walls, batshit insane.
yeah.
I think I described Dagan by the end of this as where did I say this? Oh yeah, I described Dagan by the end of this fight. I realized that he is the peak archetypal disgruntled ex-theater kid. He is. He absolutely craves that drama. The things he ends up doing in this fight are fucking ridiculous, and I love all of them. First of all, we have to talk about him growing that force arm.
Yeah, that is he couldn't just manipulate the lightsaber, wield it with the force. No, he had to make a glowing virtual arm to hold it with.
Yeah, that's the thing.
This is
It's
some
like I don't
Vader
think the arm
making him
actually
Super
existed.
Ripple type
I
shit.
don't think the arm actually existed. I think he was just hallucinating himself and Cal. I think he was visualizing
That's what I'm saying.
that it
That's what I'm saying.
existed. Yeah, no, but like it's still like the dramaticism of it all, like that he couldn't just use the force to fight with it. Yeah, no, like you're saying, yeah, is just so funny to me.
This duel is truly something else.
Yeah, and I will say that is a bit of a gripe I have with Star Wars sometimes, and and it's not a gripe with the writers or anything. It's just like me with the character sometimes, because this is something that Alex Damon answered in a Q&A, and I agree with him very much on, which is the fact that you actually don't need to outstretch your hand to use the Force.
Yeah.
But that does help with visualization.
Yeah, and I think I always understood that as the visual for one's own self, doing things like outstretching your hand, making these gestures can help, but it's not strictly necessary. And maybe it makes it easier, but maybe once you're at a certain level of mastery, it becomes less and less important. Yeah. That's how I.
However, like there are situations like with, and I understand maybe like you can make the argument that maybe he's not powerful enough to do this. But like think about Nari in the first episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi when he stops the knife from killing and reveals himself.
Yeah.
It's revealed because he's outstretching his hand doing that.
Yeah.
There was a way to get the exact same outcome and not reveal yourself inherently.
Maybe he
and that's just by not doing it.
He had to. He had to do it, I feel like.
Apparently, I guess so, but yeah. Either way, what was I going to say? Yeah. And then he goes into what I can only call those streaks across the room, or what I can only call forced Dragon Ball Z moves.
Yeah.
He's charging up his Kamehameha.
Yeah. Not the Kamehameha.
I don't even know what force power that is, and frankly, I don't care. It's just so ridiculous. This whole final boss is anime shit.
Look, we've seen a lot of stuff in Star Wars. We've seen a lot of different fighting styles, scenarios, crazy off-the-wall portrayals and interpretations of lightsaber duels over the years. However, I can genuinely say that I have never seen anything like this particular fight before in Star Wars. Yeah. The Force hallucinations, Dagan turning everything upside down.
That's the other thing. They're like, okay, we got to end this duel on the fucking ceiling.
Yeah, like every surface becoming like glowing nebula cosmic star stuff. It's the Force hallucination thing and everything that just goes along with that. It's visually, it's unique and it's spectacular. And I really enjoyed the heck out of it.
And with all that said, it is still not my favorite lightsaber duel in this game.
Yeah, but it's pretty spectacular.
That's how good another one in this game is. And actually,
Yeah.
Jacob,
We
since
need to
I
get to the
know,
main.
unfortunately, because since I know that you won't be here to talk about this one directly with me, I think you know which lightsaber duel I'm talking about, right?
Seer Vader.
Yeah.
That
Seer
that
Vader feels like a fucking movie duel, and it is like maybe one of the best Darth Vader duels of all time. And that's saying a lot because this is Darth Vader, who's always fun to watch lightsaber dueling.
the studio EA and Respawn. This was a great game all around, but they were in rare form when they put together the Seer Vader duel. Let me
The
tell
Seer
you,
Vader duel
that
is
was
so
something
damn
else.
good.
Oh my
Like
god.
I'm sure I'll mention this in the episode, but they did that little detail in the episode where we're covering this next episode when this happens. But there's that little detail where Seer and where they do that thing from A New Hope that I don't think they've ever done since. Maybe they did it in Empire, I don't know. Where Seer and Vader's blades are like they're holding their blades up to each other, and for a moment they clash, but it's not like intentionally.
Yeah.
It's like a testing the waters sort of thing, and it's so cool. It makes it feel so retro, and it makes it feel like it makes it feel like this is a duel for the ages. It's fantastic. But even these, now we have then we have Dagan just knocking Bode unconscious, which by the way, because I think when Dagan does that, he can probably see into people's minds just because he is pretty skilled at telepathy, right?
Yeah.
Here's a
He's
question
up
I
to
have for
something.
you. Here's a question I have for you. If he could see into Bode's mind, do you think he saw the truth?
I don't know.
How well do you think Bode kept that locked down?
I mean,
There's a
I
reality
assume
where
Bode had that stuffed away. I
yeah,
assume
because
that
there's a
he
reality
couldn't have found out.
where there's a reality where Dagan could penetrate Bode's force shields, but there's a reality where even Bode can't keep that enough from Dagan. And then we have the doppelgangers, the Dagan Gera doppelgangers, or as I'm going to call them, Dagan Geragers.
Yeah. That's
Um,
that's something else as well.
let's see, yeah. And then we get to the climax of this duel, which is so cool. We have, of course, Cal momentarily flipping the Force vision back on to Dagan to momentarily transform himself into Centauri Kree.
Oh my god. Yeah, this part I was like, even watching it the second time, I was just going, what is happening here? Like,
It's such a great moment.
how is this happening?
Tricking Dagan into being slain by, I'm gonna say it, the love of his life is an absolutely brutal yet poignant way to end the arc of who we believe to be our main villain in this game. It is, he went all this far down this road. He went all this way down this road. And even Centauri didn't believe in him by the end. And even Centauri rejected his vision by the end. And how devastating that must have been to Dagan. This is what I'm talking about when I say that if you view them as in love, in my opinion, it makes the story a little bit better because it no longer becomes about Tanalorr and its supposed power. It becomes about Dagan and the power of his solution of his delusions.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff.
It's truly, that was truly a crowning moment for this game. It was
I'll just
so
also
cool.
say that Dagan Gera's last words being Tanalorr is a perfect encapsulation about why his character both simultaneously works and doesn't for me.
Yeah.
It's a weird dichotomy, but it's both great and also bad at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then Bode and Cal get to talking briefly afterwards, and Bode does the not at all suspicious, I'm going to take a look around first, see if I can find a manual or something. That was the first moment I'm like, okay, Bode, what are you really up to? That was a lame-ass excuse. What are you really up to? That was a stupid-ass excuse. What are you really up to?
We will see.
Yeah, who could know? Who could possibly know what hashtag fuck Bode Akuna is up to?
Bode Kuna.
Jacob, do you have anything else, or do you want to share your overall thoughts?
I feel like after the showdown, that there's everything after that. I'm just trying to catch my breath and think about what just occurred at the end of the duel. But yeah, overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this segment. I thought that the beginning on it started off fairly well, searching for Centauri Kree's compass, and then we build up really beautifully to the confrontation, the fight with Rayvis. The showdown is amazing. It's everything I hoped for. It was an awesome payoff. Same exact thing for Dagan Gera. Forgot his name for a second. Same exact thing for Dagan Gera. Just amazing payoff for everything in the story so far. That duel was truly remarkable. Even in the pantheon of how many amazing different showdowns we have to talk about in Star Wars, that was in many ways unique among them. Probably my favorite video game duel, I have to say. Really well done. And the Centauri Kree twist was just
Beautiful.
That was really beautifully done. It was really well played, and it was an amazing way to have all of this payoff. And even after all this time spent following around Cal in this game, you look at Cal after that and go, Mr. Kestis, I was not familiar with your game.
Yep.
But one more thing, the visuals in this segment were so freaking beautiful.
The graphics in this game are fantastic.
The graphics, the grappling, everything, the observatory, the tall mountains. Really love this segment. This kind of epitomizes what this game is all about to me.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have very similar thoughts. Two fantastic duels that feel very much like they're the near the conclusion of Act 3 of this game, but are really more near the conclusion of Act. And the game does great at subverting our expectations for that. Yeah, Rayvis's fall says a lot about his character, and so does Dagan's, and about how Cal is proceeding through the galaxy and his thoughts on the matter. No, just fantastic stuff all around. The game is really kicking into high gear, and these showdowns were both worth it and did a lot for the characters involved. I think that's going to be it for this episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy. Next week, we'll be covering more Jedi Survivor. However, Jacob will not, unfortunately, be joining us for these next 2 episodes. I will have guest hosts to be determined. I've still not figured them out, but I will determine them by the end. But he will be joining us for the retrospective, so he can share his full thoughts on the game. And then after Season 18 wraps of Star Wars in the Galaxy, I will be doing some more of the Theme Between Themes series that I started a few years ago, while Jacob is gone for the summer, and I'm still just chilling around here doing some stuff. But until then, until our next episode comes out, which will, of course, will be next week, you can listen to us. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, we'll be there. Follow us on Twitter at InAGalaxyPod. Everywhere. Follow us everywhere at InAGalaxyPod. You can find me at my Linktree, linktr.e/_richfan327. You watch Epic Confrontations on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single upload or live stream. And I think, if there's nothing else, may the Force be with you.
Always.